Hello, my friends. Let me explain something here real quick. This is going to be a long video. Camera angle's terrible, and I probably add a good 50 or 60 pounds out of myself with this angle, but I really don't care. Let me explain something here real quick. I'm going to address something I've seen a lot in a lot of sword videos. People are always comparing swords. For example, you have the katana versus Western long swords and other things. And I have here just a simple, it's Western, Greek, whatever you want to call it. It's a Western style blade. What only needs a longer cross guard and it fit in pretty well on just about any movie as being held by some sort of a soldier. Now, the blade, utility edge, good for cutting. The tip, sharp. Here we have, now it is a tactical machete, not a proper sword, but this is not designed for the same kind of combat. You have the grip here specifically designed to be best in a two-handed grip. You have the push-pull that is going to give you that sharp slice, and the blade is to be drawn through the cut. It doesn't cut from chopping. It cuts from being pulled through along the cutting edge. So this, if properly made, a real one, this is just a machete, tactical machete style katana, or katana style machete is the official name for it. But thrusting, it can be used for that, but that is still a cutting edge. There is a bit of a stabby edge, but this along the back is not designed to help that at all. The whole thing, from the angle to the way the handle is, to even the shape up here where the transition is from the long cutting edge to the tip. This is designed to cut. This is a slicing sword. It is a cutting sword. It is not a chopping sword, a hacking sword. A chop is when you're bringing the blade down, so the shape of the blade moving through actually spreads apart and chops it. This goes right through. This is designed to just cut it apart, not chop and force it to split open. This edge, on the other hand, thick, much duller, ironically, but at the same time, the focus of this sort of sword is the tip. The cutting edges, as needed, yeah, perfectly good, and they will cut. But the thing is this weapon, the knights in armor would even half sword, or with a proper gauntlet typically, they'd grab and they would force the blade through the armor. See, that is a very narrow profile. The tip is shaped to aid in going through and cut its way through or force its way through. Even that, though, will split. For example, if you half sword and something gets in the way, not all kinds of ring armor, but this would also force ring armor apart. Ring mail, such as your typical chain mail you see all the time, those lovely little helmets and the shirts. We're not talking about the club scene right now, but this is designed for a whole different kind of combat. The blunter edge on this means if you have mail on and I hit your arm, I'm not trying to slice the mail. The sword will not slice the mail necessarily unless you have either phenomenal strength or phenomenally weak mail. But the damage to what's underneath, the blade needs to do more forcing in, wedging in, doing more blunt damage. Again, more like an axe than this style blade. The Japanese style blade is specifically designed for slicing. You've seen how they use it on the tatami mats. Everybody's seen The Last Samurai, which I have no links to whatsoever. This particular sword, can it stab? Yes. But that's not going to go through ring mail nearly as well as this. So if I was going up against unarmored opponents, or say, for example, I was fighting enemies who had armor that a more slicing attack would work well against, or, for example, cavalry, this would be my choice. If you don't have armor and we're in a sword fight and you have one of these, I'm probably going to go with one of these, because I am going to cut you to ribbons. And also, because of the way the blade is, you still have the backside you have a good blocking surface and all that. So here's the deal. This and this are not designed for the same thing. Also, this is a single-hand sword. You half sword, you can grip more here if you need to do other things, whatever, but this blade is not designed for the same things. The cutting style is completely different. A sword sharp blade of European quality and Japanese quality is completely different. So when you compare them, you're comparing an apple to an orange. They're both good fruit, and they both taste amazing, and they're both very, very good for you, but they are completely different kinds of fruit. And you can't compare them on an equal footing because they're completely different fruit. Like grapes and apples as well. They're completely different. You can't compare core size of a grape. Even a seeded grape is not going to compare that way. So when we compare swords, my friends, let's try to make sure that what we're doing is actually comparing, like if you have this compared to, say, for example, European sabers. They're both designed for cutting. They're both designed for a very similar thing. So maybe use that. Compare it with other swords designed for slashing, for slicing. And when you're going to compare something like this, compare it to more brutish weapons or thrusting weapons. But compare the parts of what it was designed for when you did so. Again, thank you for watching this and for spending this time with me. And hopefully that helps clear up just a little bit of the confusion.